welcome to the firm. On the show this week, once the king of good times, now a willful defaulter. What does that mean for Kingfisher Airlines, Vijay Mallya and United Bank? The Delhi High Court brings cheer for Vodafone-like transactions, but will it be short-lived? From the king of good times to willful defaulter, the fortunes of the grounded Kingfisher Airlines and its founder, Vijay Mallya, took a turn for the worse this week. One of its many lenders, United Bank of India, declared Kingfisher a willful defaulter on grounds of defaulting in meeting its payment obligations, even when it had the capacity to honor the obligations. The irony is that Kingfisher owes 17 banks an approximate 7,000 crore rupees, maybe now 6,500 crores, and of that, United Bank's dues amount to a little over 400 crore rupees. But it is the non-repayment of a 7.5 crore rupee overdraft facility with United Bank that has earned Kingfisher and Mallya the willful defaulter tag. What does this mean for KFA, Vijay Mallya, the other directors of the airline, and most importantly, for United Bank's ability to recover its money? To answer that question, I have with me Jayesh and Umarji, both veterans in the space. Gentlemen, to both of you, a warm welcome to the firm. Let me start, Jayesh, by asking you what you think of this development, this tag of willful defaulter that has come after this many-year battle against Kingfisher Airlines and Vijay Mallya. 17 banks trying to recover their dues. One bank has finally, after all these years, decided to call him willful defaulter.
The question boils down to as to the grounds on which they have declared Mr. Mallya and Kingfisher willful defaulter. From what you're saying, it seems that a small OD facility hasn't been repaid, and United Bank seems to be claiming that Kingfisher has the ability to repay that. One would have thought that the other banks would have done this much earlier and not on these grounds, because I think it's universally known that Kingfisher is not having the ability to repay its debt. And there are various grounds on which you can declare somebody a willful defaulter. One of them, of course, is you have the money but you're not paying it deliberately. The other relate to diversion of funds or using the funds for purposes other than you borrowed them, or the collateral you gave for the purpose of borrowing, you dispose of the collateral without the consent of the banks, etc. So in effect, a conduct which is fraudulent in nature or of a nature which defeats the security or the collateral given to the bank, etc. There are many consequences, but from the facts which you narrated at the beginning, I wouldn't be surprised if the outcome is not going to be what we would otherwise have thought it to be. 7.5 crores and claiming that you have the ability to repay, I'm not sure how strong a ground that is which can be sustained. Some of the other grounds, the story can be different.
Now, Mr. Umarji, would you agree with that the very grounds on the basis of which United Bank has labelled KFA willful defaulter are slightly shaky? This may not prevail if this was to become a legal battle, which it likely will, and that it's going to do very little to help United Bank in recovering its money, which is a whole separate question altogether.
You see, the limit for declaring willful defaulters as per RBI circular is 25 lakhs and above.
Yes, sir.
So 7.5 crore is a amount for which if there is a diversion of funds.
Sir, in this case, United Bank has not referred to a diversion of funds or siphoning of funds or any of the other more graver circumstances. It has said that KFA had the ability to pay and yet did not pay back its amount.
Right. So, but that is one of the grounds on which a company can be declared as a willful defaulter. And the next step is that this information is forwarded to Reserve Bank of India. There are two categories of reports which are to be submitted. One is in respect of suit filed or DRT recovery proceedings filed cases where the information is sent to CIBIL, the Credit Information Bureau. This information is again accessible to the banks and other lenders. And the consequence is that if there is a company which is a willful defaulter, it cannot borrow money from any other bank thereafter.
it does say that, besides no additional facilities being granted to that specific borrower, no other borrowing company should induct the promoter or director of a willful defaulter company. And if they do have such a person on board, that they should find a way to expeditiously remove that person from board. Now, I assume, and this is what the United Bank management also pointed out to me, that they are using this willful defaulter tag in an effort to try and pressure and shame Mr. Mallya in paying back that 7.5 crores, because otherwise the willful defaulter tag does nothing else in helping United Bank recover its money.
You see, it is only a tactic to put pressure on the directors of the company, promoter directors of the company. By treating a company as a willful defaulter, you are not going to recover any money. Recovery will come provided the promoter director comes forward and says that, okay, I am paying you this, and delete my name from the list of willful defaulters.
Jayesh, how often has this name and shame worked?
It has worked in the past. I mean, there are names which I will not take now, given that they have been settled and the borrowers are paid off. And they paid off after being declared as a willful defaulter, but then they went and filed a legal challenge. And then they chose to, settle it out of court by paying off. So, strictly speaking, the tag of willful defaulter doesn't any longer continue for those names. So, that's why I won't name them. But to answer your question, it does work, provided it is done in time. In the given instance, I have a few points to make or a bunch of questions to ask. Why are the other banks not taking steps, and are all the consortium members of the view and assessment that there has been no diversion of funds, or that the funds used for the very purpose they were stated to be used, or none of the collateral given was altered or disposed of without the consent of the banks? Because the ground on which United Bank has declared it, I don't think that will really sustain, because at least my limited understanding from the media is Kingfisher is broke, and I don't think they even must be having 5 crores in a bank balance somewhere in the country. That's one question, therefore. The other is, why is it being done now? Why wasn't it done, say, a year or two back, where the Kingfisher brand as an airline brand would have had value, where you could have looked at post-willful defaulter declaration, change of management, and maybe handing over the company to be run to somebody else who's willing to restructure the whole operation. As to consequences, I don't agree with one of the points made. There is no legal compulsion for a person declared as a willful defaulter, their directors, to resign necessarily from the boards of other companies.
Actually, Jayesh, I'm reading from the RBI Master Circular. It says no borrowing company should induct promoter or director of a willful defaulter company. A borrowing company must remove from its board any promoter or director of a willful defaulter company.
No, that's an extract you're reading out. You need the loan agreement to have such a clause. If the loan agreement doesn't have the clause, the banks can't compel. But you're right that these are pressure tactics. But the real objective, was, if you want to call it so, social service for the banking system, that, look, I have been so-called defrauded or, whatever by this borrower. So I'm declaring this person as willful defaulter. So you, the other banks, don't have to undergo the same.
Okay, Jayesh, let me ask you this question. I put this question to United Bank asking if they were likely to pursue any criminal, sort of proceedings on the basis of this willful defaulter tag. The bank told me that yes, we have the option to do so, but we are not inclined to do so right now, and that we hope that in fact the leader of the consortium makes up its mind on the willful defaulter tag and decides to initiate criminal proceedings on its own. What are the chances of any criminal proceedings under willful defaulter tag succeeding? How does the process work?
In fact, the RBI circular requires banks to apply the willful defaulter proceedings, and many banks are not doing so, and that's something which RBI really needs to look at as to why banks are not doing so. Secondly, if you do declare somebody willful defaulter, on grounds such as diversion of funds or diversion of collateral, etc., then you are required to file criminal proceedings.
Right.
The way the RBI circular is,
but in this case, it doesn't seem to be those 2 points. It just seems to be the ability to pay but refusal to pay.
That is not a ground for criminal proceedings.
It is not going to help. It is only bringing a pressure on the directors.
Okay.
You see, unless there is a specific allegation of fraud and misuse of the funds obtained from the bank for a particular purpose being used for a totally different purpose, and diversion of funds, and there is it amounts to offense of cheating, there can't be any criminal proceeding in respect of these willful defaulters. I only wanted to mention two more developments which have happened.
Sure.
There is another bank which has started the action for classifying this company as a willful defaulter, that is Punjab National Bank.
Right, sir.
And that action has also been challenged by the company on the ground, saying that we should be given allowed to be represented by an advocate in the proceedings which are conducted for classification as willful defaulter. And that bank, the Delhi High Court, has passed an order that he should be allowed to be defended by an advocate.
Yes.
Whereas Kolkata High Court has taken a contrary view. So this is one development, and I understand that I don't know which company, but some company has filed a writ petition in the Bombay High Court challenging the constitutional validity of the RBI circular.
So I think that company is Phenolex. It is a company that has been tagged willful defaulter in the past in connection to some derivative contracts.
Right,
But so
and they are challenging it on the ground.
Okay, but we don't know how that challenge
violates the...
Yeah, so what? We don't know how that challenge will turn out. But at this point in present, he might actually challenge the grounds on which he has been labelled willful defaulter. What is the likely chances of success, of this tag persisting, of United Bank winning that?
I agree with Mr. Jayesh in that it will be extremely difficult to prove that the company has capacity to pay but it is not paying. Okay. Because company is closed down for last 2-3 years.
Okay, Jayesh, in my conversation with the United Bank management, he indicated to me that no, we do know of instances where there was money in the account, but they did not pay us. I don't have that evidence, but I'm just curious to know what you make of where all of this is going to head. Is willful defaulter just a nice headline tag? It really amounts to nothing else?
Well, you can use willful defaulter to show that you're taking some action, and then what to do, the court set it aside, so blame the courts. Or if you're really serious about it, you would have gone on more serious charges, and that's a question I asked earlier. Is it the bank's case, the full consortium, that they have no evidence of diversion of funds, etc.? Because those are far more serious charges and far more difficult to wriggle out if you're able to demonstrate that is where the facts lie. So you're right that, is this just to show that some action is being taken and whether that action gets sustained or not? And then the other question is, how serious are the banks in this case, given the nature of the persona we are dealing with?
Well, that's a question even I can't answer, but better late than never. Gentlemen, to both of you, thank you very much for joining us on this discussion.
Thank you.
There you've got it. KFA and Vijay Mallya tagged as willful defaulter, but besides making an interesting headline, that really isn't going to amount to much for either United Bank or any of the other lenders. On that note, we're going to take a quick break on the firm. When we come back, the Delhi High Court brings cheer for Vodafone-like transactions, but will it be short-lived?